Okay. You might need to go into your Discord settings and just set up push to talk. I'm set it up and I'm just holding down the button. I might see if Matol can change this. Actually, just ask. Okay.
Mic check 1, 2.
All right. Hello.
Oh, excellent. Okay, I didn't realize that I didn't have a keybind set. But okay,
Yeah,
so
I didn't
Lemon,
either.
I think as long as our audio is going through your desktop, then chat should be able to hear us.
Yes, I think it should be fine. Can you just say something, Salty, please? Oh, can you just say something, Salty, please?
Mic check 1, 2.
Okay, I think that's coming up all fine. Alright, apologies about that, chat. This, a lot of things had to be changed on the fly there, the setup. What do we have here for the game one? It is, as we actually predicted, probably quite a while ago now, it is Knights against the Square control to begin with. Feach was in the red coin initially. Looks like the round one was given up fairly quick. And
then
yeah.
we see the pretty standard play by TGX to then go ahead and push round 2 tempo with scenario and essentially just trying to drive up the value against a control deck before Feach can do too much about it.
I'm a bit surprised that we see this Maiden's Shield being played as the Chapter 1 proc, not the Chapter 2 proc. Maybe Heatwave was used round 1. I wasn't able to quite catch that.
Same. That would be. I think that's a safe guess, because otherwise, like you said, I don't think you do that. I don't think you play Maiden Shield except to resolve the scenario, unless if there's a threat of Heatwave.
I think Matol might have fixed the voice chat so it doesn't need to be pushed to talk. I'm just going to leave it as is for this game. I'll try to see if it's changed in the between games.
And I didn't see Lemon, since you've been comms with Matol in the background. Are we going to use this as the go forward, or do we think that for game 2 and we'll be able to send a new invite and resolve the client?
I assume. I actually didn't really say. I assume we'll just be keeping with this for the series, and hopefully the second series will work better.
Okay, perfect. That's too easy.
Yeah, Ron on the board here, getting the order activated since the second Graceful Maiden's Shield went through. Here comes the Knight Errant. Is it going to be leaded? Nope. Not going to be leaded just yet. How's the Shiru looking? So Shiru doesn't care about immunity. If you're able to, say, get the Shiru to 9 here, then Bron on the board would be killed, but it's not really doable with the Shiru being at 7. And it's also a bit harder to buff up the Shiru after playing on board, since this deck isn't Guerrilla Tactics, it is Precision Strike.
Yeah, this is a very tough spot with this hand for Feach. But there is now the possibility of setting up maybe 7s for the Shiru. Yeah. Using the leader on the following turn, but even still, that's still I mean, even if you can get 2 or even 3 7s on the other side of the board, I mean, 2 is only a 21-point Shiru, and you're down over 40 points now.
I don't think that's going to work so well, because after the Grace procs, the Squire's going to become 9 power.
Oh, that's right, it'll buff as well, that's right, because of the scenario.
Oh, no. I mean, you can maybe use some leaders to set things back down. You might not. You might have to give up the Death Blow to get the Shiru value here. The Death Blow on the leader, which is particularly not great when you're already behind quite a bit in points. Also note the Old God hasn't been played, and playing the Old God here would be extremely slow tempo against all these points coming from Knights. In fact, just playing the Old God is not going to help at all, because the Knights are basically getting 5 points passively per turn, and it's just a forfeit. Music, right? Yeah, it's TGX and Pirates Cove. And Blue Coin Blue Deck, it's Alumni to lead us here with
Alumni Blue Coin.
Yeah, it is a bit unfortunate we can't see the opponent's hand here, but it gives us a bit of a different flavor of casting, because we're going to be playing as if we just don't know what is happening. It's as if we're actually playing the game as well.
Yeah, we won't be able to backseat as hard as we usually do, where we can say, "Oh, I know exactly what to do."
Yeah. So, how is the hand looking here? We have access to a back row student, Letitia, defender. It's not easy for TGX to get through defender here. They could use poisons, but then the Crystal Skull could counter, which would end up forcing out the Morals from TGX.
It's one of the other things that's different about ladder versus open deck lists in tournament is obviously PFeach knows that TGX's deck, and therefore knows, like you said, that it's going to take a healthy amount of work to be able to get through, to be able to kill the Letitia, if it's even possible to kill the Letitia outright. And so comparatively, then you know that you don't have to, if you're PFeach, you don't have to open defender if you want. You can now slam the defender. Now, yeah, you can play the defender second, so you get the Letitia ticking that extra turn earlier.
Yeah, and it's these little differences in play which some of the top players will make, and that can have a huge effect in these games. One more turn on Letitia turns into so much more value on your alumni later on.
Absolutely, and there's a back row student for PFeach in hand, but we'll likely have to Arcane Tome into a Nero, or try and high roll on Rune Ward rather, to find the front row one. So yeah. We'll see what situationally happens here. Of course, the back row student gets played now, and then holding the Crystal Skull to be able to protect, assumedly, the front row student that should come next turn, if we had to guess.
And I'm interested to see how TGX is going to play here. I think it's pretty clear they're not going to be able to get through the defender here to access the Letitia. And what that means is you could probably have one of two options. Either just pass at 7 cards to minimize the patience value that PFeach is able to establish here. Then when PFeach decides to bring students back later on, you're able to use, say, your Horson Jr., you're able to use your pulling the strings to kill off the students and not let them get too much extra patience. Or you push hard in this round and try to get the round win and then bleed hard in a round 2. Poison here makes sense. You're gonna do it here regardless. If you are passing or not. Crystal Skull gets used to block. You would have coins to use the morals here, but Mage Pool is probably not what PFeach was looking for. We see the Banard Tutor coming down. No, this tutor doesn't actually play cards, it's just a older tutor. I believe, right? It is. That's the name.
Yeah, that is correct. I was also thinking of the tutor, the English tutors, but yes, that is a Banard tutor in the middle. And also, I'm surprised, like you said, we thought we might see TGX potentially get out, but obviously knows how the game works, that if you get out in that instance, then that's the end of your time here. So I think now we see Arcane Tome and Nero front row student and Letitia click.
I think that Letitia was at 5 patience, so this Banard student is going to go straight to the 5 damage, back row student at 7. I'm not sure if P-Feature is consciously showing us these values, but when we do see them, we should be taking note.
Yes, and we will try to convey them to all of you so that those of you, if you're anything like me when you watch Twitch, I'm not staring intently at the screen, so we'll try and be useful to you. And we do see a pulling the strings here, which will make the Shawnee worse, and also will allow TGX to compete more for this round.
Yeah, I like this a lot from TGX. By taking the Moros, you force P-Feature, since the Letitia is now vulnerable. With the BGF floating on board in particular, you can't use the leader to protect Letitia again. It would be vulnerable to the Horson. So P-Feature has to take this Bernard student, which opens the gates up for TGX to get a pulling the strings. Both students dead, one of them stolen. Now P-Feature is quite limited in what they can do, and looking at even just losing on even is a very real possibility here. And
yeah, ops to Necromancy front row and potentially use could use the Arcane Tome to try and to maybe like casting contest just to boost. Ops for another unit and goes for the other student back row, which also is carryover to the extent that that back row student then being played in this round is one less. It makes the practice makes perfect obviously more consistent.
Yeah.
But there's a real possibility here of losing on even from Blue Coin for P-Feach, depending on... and we see the other pulling the strings.
Yeah.
So no soup for you.
And this is the downside of Arcane Tome. Sure, it's a 6 provision tutor, but with cheap cost comes great drawbacks. And yeah, some strings being pulled behind the scenes maybe, TGX setting up the deck perfectly to get those pulling the strings out. Here comes the little bird, and yeah, I don't know how P-Feature's gonna catch up.
And that's that. So loses on even. The Shawnee, the Shawnee's not dead, but yeah, an 8 damage front row student. You don't have access to that. I think a 7 boost or a 9 boost back row student that you also lost to the first pulling the strings. So yeah, obviously, and without having to commit anything supremely important for TGX more than the Mariels maybe. That feels like a really good round 1 for TGX. And it looks like we will see a free bleed push here on even cards.
Go long round, take the card advantage. I don't expect that to be the case. You'd love to make use of your proactivity, set up your game tags so that you could high roll shady vendors into pulling the strings, or I guess maybe if you don't, you just get a payday instead. And kill any of the other students that we see getting played here.
Oh boy. Yeah, those are not great, and you can see that P-Feach is telling us that what we know, which is that those are not great choices. No students, no alumni, no, would have also maybe been nice to get a Spellweaver there, potentially, but none of the above.
I think that's literally the worst 3 choices you could have seen.
I think it's true.
Inwards not going away with P-Feature.
And meanwhile,
pretty good roll. The Blind Eye tag isn't easy to find for this deck, and with the Little Bird already played, you'll be happy to have access to that so early into this round.
Also, to be able to put an efficient spender on board is always a nice thing as well. Yeah, and P-Feach also, I think, maybe signaling to us not a whole lot here left in deck either.
Okay. This is the thing, if you do play ping pong with the Arcane Tome in the round 1 like these players did, you'll both be thinning your decks quite a bit, so with the additional tutors you play, there aren't that many cards left in P-Feature's deck, so the mulligans in round 3 will be pretty consistent in finding what you like. Issue is you need to get to that round 3. This is the 4th game tag for TGX. Little bird being played is interesting here. Will we see the tag?
Tag, yeah.
Does P-Feach cat?
Blind Eyes, Tide Cloak, and so we get P-Feach was kind enough to show us 3 of the 4 cards, but not the one that we don't understand.
Okay, it was the Salamander, I bet it. Wait, it was Salamander. Did I read that right? No, that
I don't know.
Wait, no, it was, because they were only boosted by 4, I think. I don't know.
And there's the Horson to kill the alumni. Which now in a perfect world you'd love to be able to deal with the Horson, because obviously you want to make sure that your student would be able to live. But we do see that come back, and maybe a leader charge here. Because you just really don't want to create a simple solution for Horson to be able to clean up an alumni with only 2 damage on the alumni.
Yes, I don't know how this deck deals the direct damage. You'll probably be more worried about playing around, pulling the strings at a 5Cs. I'm trying to think. The only way I would think to get direct damage is like a Novigrad high roll. Or a Shady Vendor high roll, potentially.
That's what I was... Yeah, and like you said, there's a pulling the strings. Yeah.
And because the students were stolen round 1, the alumni would still be active. I don't... Or is it active with the students that P-Feach has? I'm not sure how the interaction works exactly, but it does end up getting heat wave.
Surely P-Feach, you leader charge that alumni, that second, the one that you just spawned, right? Like, surely, I understand it's -2 points on the practice makes perfect, but unlike the transaction that we just saw, you need to see it live, right?
I think P-Feach is just reading it here, hoping there is no second vendor, and it ends up maybe being the better play.
Okay, so does get out of this round. I don't know what the front row student is, but it's surely not up to 8. So I think it'll be the 8 damage, and then the whatever that front row boost just was, which on his Shawnee is 7. Shawnee went to 13, and Shawnee's base power is 6. So I think back row is 7, front row is 8 damage.
I think that's right. Ooh, screw. So the siege ladder maybe not ideal.
Yeah, I would have thought that you would want to keep the other PMP in hand and get rid of the siege ladder.
I think maybe just having a proactive unit that you're fine to play first.
Can you float the Gerhardt here?
With the Horse and Dead and no coins for the Morels, Gerhardt. Oh no, Morels is used anyway. So yeah, the Gerhardt should be fine to float. There's nothing you can do really without coins here for TGX. Could get the Gerhardt, maybe use it for casting contest.
So yeah, still left. You've got Jacques. Let's see. I have the list here. Let me not talk out of my ass, chat. Yeah, you got Jacques, Diggy, and that's really the cornerstone of what's left on the gold side for TGX. I wonder what you play Gerhardt for. It could be a rune word at 5 or a casting contest at 5.
Gerhardt's gonna be at 6 now.
Came down at 4 the one turn. Came down at 1 to 5, now 1 to 6. So you're right. I think it's at 7 now, yeah?
I believe so. It's at 7 you can get Necromancy. I assume that's the play. You get to play another 11 just straight from the graveyard.
Because there's nothing at 8. What's at 8 is like Becker's Rock Slide, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have to use it this last turn anyways.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was thinking it was. I thought it was either to 7 or to 8 there. Oh, and and pulls the double poisons. So the Gerhardt, greeting the Gerhardt was maybe the only way to win, but obviously pulling the double poisons means that the Gerhardt goes into the graveyard forever and ever, and that's a win from red coin against the blue coin.
Turn.
And then we do see from red coin, as you predicted, these precision strike list, which, as we'd pointed out before, or as you'd pointed out before, quite correctly, has a ton of control, has a healthy amount of control, and hopefully enough control to be able to manage. I mean, this is the way that this matchup, that you'd like this matchup to be if you are P-Feach, right? You're getting Ursine Ritual on the wrong coin with a control deck. If there is an opportunity to claw back into this head-to-head, it's going to be with this kind of matchup and with these decks.
Although there's a slight problem in that with all these thinners, P-Feach does go fairly wide with this list with the units they do play. While some of those will be rowdy dwarves that get armored, one armor isn't going to make you a huge difference if the spellbot is dealing 3-4 damage. But what you can do is you can try to use maybe a Zoltan to flip the bears from the totem as soon as they get played, and deny a bit of spellbot value that way. So, early location here. You might just be trying to get value whilst P-Feach might not have drawn the heat wave. This could just be a heat wave check. Also a pretty good roll, finding an answer to that Dwarven Skirmisher. I guess a cute little thing with the vials being auto-summoned, both of these decks playing the Vial of Forbidden Knowledge, making the knowledge not so forbidden, although of course that doesn't matter since we are playing open deck lists. It does matter for having an additional artifact to use the verification on. Very early Draco Turtle here. It looks like P-Feach isn't really worried about contesting this round, and this sometimes is how you just play against Self-Wound. You don't care about the round control as much. The more important way of thinking about going about this matchup is you just need to pair up your answers for whatever threats the opponent is putting onto the board. And by not using too much big stuff here, P-Feach saves the important tools for later.
And P-Feach also knows that you're never getting tempo passed on when the opponent plays Cure Trolled in round 1. So like you said, was able to play maybe an extra card there, ended up playing a 4-point Sapper Bomber, but doesn't care even being down almost 30 points. And now, like you said, we'll see what happens here. One more mulligan remaining, 2 bricks in deck. For the leader, I think if you're, I was going to say if you're P-Feach, you really do not want to brick into your leader here because that's where your carryover tempo is to make sure that you get out of this round.
You also would expect with the location sitting on board, TJ's probably going to be bleeding fairly hard here, especially if you're going to lead with a totem. Problem is, Neuromancy likely has to be used for either the Heat Wave or the Wolfsbane here. You're only going to have access to 1 Tall Punish in this round.
And there's Old Geared Immortal, like you said, which all of this signals a pretty heavy push here.
Pyrotechnician could be spicy to get a bit of a threatened against this Bear Abomination. Of course, you'll be sad if it ends up hitting this Old Geared Immortal, however.
But could, like you said, whatever, if there's a unit played, then you have a 2/3 chance of doing something spicy, like you said. It makes the Canute, playing the Canute now for TGX a little bit more daunting, because then the Pyrotechnic Click plus a leader handles that. Or it removes, like you said, one of the cultists, which is ideal for helping make your Svalblood better on deploy. So we see the Sigvald as well. Okay, so TGX signaling that it's time to party. I wonder if you play the Chariot front row, because like you said, going wide here is just 0 points with the multiple Sigvald explosions.
I guess the problem is playing it back row. Maybe you play a bit more into the value the KO Troll could provide. It depends on what you're willing to play.
You go a little bit taller.
But back row, I'm just playing to the Canute regardless, I suppose. Nicely set up with the Sigvald, not losing any additional value. Now the Pyrotech Click is looking a bit more tempting, I'd imagine. Doesn't really find much. Notably,
PFH does not find 3 damage.
I do not like TGX playing the Canute back row. Knowing your opponent plays backup plans, oh lord. You do play into the double planner Archer high roll. Oh sorry, Bowman is the back row one. Archer would be front row to deal the 3 damage, Bowman back row for 3 damage. Pyrotech on the Sigvald, and then so probably going to
maybe should have clicked the Pyrotechnic last turn. There was no, there's no downside to it.
What you can do is, if you know your opponent has access to toll punishes, you can use the Sigvald offensively to try to nullify what would it be like an insane heat wave if you used it on an allied unit. But there's not really much toll on P-Feature's side of the board to make that line of play more tempting for PGX. Coming right
the Sigdriff right in this round. Yeah, the Sigdriff is right in this round, to your point, signals that we're not going to see double... we don't see double Sigvald, and therefore the Sigvald is going to be held for next turn. We do find the Nature's Rebuke, though. I say we, because we are on the southern side of the board. Like you said, the Aniro represents the Toll Punish into Sigvald, and then some flavor of Leader plus any of the other damage cards, if you're a P-Feach, which should get you to be able to kill, first turn kill Sigvald, which we know now can't be brought back because Sigdriff's Right's been played. So this is still, I think this is still a toss-up here. I lied. We're seeing an all-in. Never mind.
So you need to be careful.
And still a Care Trolled.
Because these Mahakam Volunteers in hand, they're going to be dead if all these dwarves get killed. Bit of protection on this Svalblood. This armor means it's not going to be easy to set up a Shearer at 5 power. Otherwise, you would have probably just pinged Svalblood, killed it, and that 5 power there. Instead, it's just
like you said, the heat wave on the Sigvald means one more explosion. Eudora's still alive. Eudora is a dwarf, yeah?
Yes, Eudora's a dwarf.
So you need Eudora to also leave the board. But like you said, if that were to happen, and we are seeing the all-in here.
Yeah, there's the bear from the leader. Now, doesn't decide to kill the Eudora, but I don't think it's really going to matter here. This Shearer at 5 is...
It's just too weird.
Oh, actually, no, you'll be able to catch up here, maybe, or... Yeah, it would make sense to serve damage to 4.
and then you can still do your leader at 3. So you do that, you click the Shiru, and then you full leader, and you get out your carryover. So yeah, P-Feach survives here.
Nice.
I don't know what's left. There's a backup plan, a Wolf's Bane.
Self-Wound doesn't have much left either, right? They used a lot of these big power plays. Do they have any golds left? I'm looking. I don't think there's a single gold left for the self-wound here. maybe Neuromancy, but like that doesn't count. Glim is not going to be doing much if they draw it here. So despite a fairly sad opening hand here, and you're into maybe just a front row chariot ought to be pretty safe. That's a bit awkward with the Bountiful Harvest and the Skirmisher. You want to play both of these second last, otherwise you're losing a bit of value on each of them. Be a screw.
We see here both players not shying away from jamming the cards. Yeah, if you play the Bountiful, you either lose the 3 points of extra damage on the Skirm, or you lose the hand buff, the 2 points of hand buff on the Bountiful Harvest.
Takes the Harvest first. Harvest first is maybe a bit nicer. Could have high rolled, say, like a Sorceress or something. Could have played for a whole lot more.
I think that's right.
And you see the 3 damage wouldn't have really done much onto either what would have been a 1-power Squirrel or this Berserker as well. All this armor means that the Berserker pings aren't doing much. It's basically just a glorified 6-point play. Terracrude Plunderer, a bit of synergy there.
That's that!
Armor.
Wowzers, what a... Oh, what a... Oh, what a round 2 that was.
P-Feed, Blue Coin, Blue Deck, it's the Knights coming out again. I'm gonna say that every time. But, so this will be a bit of a different story. Knights as a deck tends to be a bit more limited in its control. You have a Heatwave, you have an Erendite, oh sorry, no, this is Alumni. Wrong Northern Realms. This is Alumni. Still has the Heatwave, and it has damage in the form of Alumni if they're able to stick. Now, Self-Wound is weird in the damage it is able to deal, because it's often locked up in, say, your location or your Canute, which both need setup to be able to do things. Regardless, the Self-Wound I don't think is going to have a fun time getting through Heatwave. I don't believe there is a Purifier. Oh no, there is. Okay, I'm gonna eat my words immediately. Yeah, there's both.
Oh, never. Don't make them. Don't let them make you eat anything you don't want to eat.
So yeah, it's worth noting the Self-Wound is playing both Pella and Squirrel, these 4 provision tech cards, quite useful against Alumni. BK trolled. P-Feet showing us the options here, something like an on-crate rate, okay. Maybe I brought it into existence. This is quite scary because the Order is able to pop a shield from the leader, and then you could follow up with maybe playing an Olgid and clashing with the Chaotroll.
Yeah, and there's so many different. It also lets you, like you said, you can also pair the damage, the 2 damage on the Order with something even simple like the Terror Crew Plunderer for 4 damage. So now it makes, like you said, all of your it makes all of your students much more vulnerable in this round 1. I mean, the Letitia has to. I mean, in any number of ways, the Letitia dies here. So I'm kind of surprised that we maybe didn't see the click. Or is the idea that you let the Letitia go so that way the back row student isn't the focus of removal?
I think the thing is with the Letitia, you need to commit something big to kill her regardless. Ends up just being a Fogblood here to do so. So you can do this with the offensive Raider click here, it's going to spawn the bear and 2 leader charges will do the trick. Or you just use Fogblood to kill student. Okay.
Yeah.
Letitia gets to stick, but I guess Letitia isn't doing too much if there's no students on board already.
Wait, what? Oh. And then exactly what you said could happen is what we may see here, which is pop the shield. Could be a way of dealing with this. I'm kind of surprised, and then then we see just the flat heat wave. P-Feach obviously a bit sad that calling out that TGX had all of these answers in hand for round 1, makes life a little bit harder, and by a little I mean holy hell, it makes it a lot harder.
It's always strange, like, playing these sort of Skellige decks in these matchups. Your control tools are not as simple as just point your damage card, your damage special, and kill something. So the fact
you mean it's not warriors?
No, it is not warriors. The fact that when you use the control, it's not active anymore. If you want to play the Dwim, especially now the Dwim doesn't give Zeal, it's going to open up a chance for the opponent to play something or protect something. So you get to see a lot more of a interactive back and forth, and I think there's a lot more room for player skill expression as we're seeing here.
Agreed, and also, to your point, for example, Peefeach made the choice not to use Necromancy on the back row student that was first played, which it could have been Necromancy, a Letitia click, and then at least your back row is guaranteed success. Also, wow, TGX also has a Squirrel in hand. So you have Peller, Squirrel, Heatwave, Svalblood, and Care-Trolled. Access to all of those in round one, and I think, I don't want to speak out of turn, but we may see a forfeit at some point here from Peefeach.
I don't think it's over at all yet.
I don't either. This is more of a player commentary, but you can definitely feel the frustration on Peefeach's side of the board.
Yeah, when you're in these kind of situations, you just need to think about the positives. Back row students finally getting to 4 power, so that's set up a little bit. You'll also have to say that, okay, my opponent has used a lot of golds already. They've used the Care-Troll, they've used the single Dwim in this list. The Svalblood is out. Svalblood isn't nearly as great when you use the Sigdrifa's right to pull him back, because there is no deploy. It means that there's less bears coming down on that turn.
And without having the Care-Trolled on board, that makes it harder as well.
Yep.
Could we see an offensive Marjoram?
But...
and there it is. So an offensive Marjoram. But I like that Peefeach hasn't quit yet. Like, the draws have not been ideal. TGX has drawn really well, and Peefeach is still fighting, and I like to see that.
I think the line to win here for Peefeach, the Heatwave hasn't been played yet on Peefeach's side of things, correct?
Correct. Still has it in hand. Also, still didn't get a... my god. We've now seen Ben, our tutor, played 3 times now, right?
Yes.
Which is 5 times more than it usually gets played.
If I'm being honest, I'm not quite sure what the banner tutor does. I think it's when you play a spell, it will boost by 2.
Yep.
Or special card.
And I think it's every unique special you play, it gets boosted by 2, if I recall.
Okay, right. That's interesting. That could be... I kind of want to make a deck with that now, but anyways, to I think finally get around to my point. If Peefeach is able to use the Heatwave to shut down the Canute, that means the Canute can't be brought back with the Sigdrifa's right. That's a lot of the combo enablers going from TGX. It's not going to be easy to get value out of your Sigvald, out of your Canute at that point. So it's definitely not over. And bleeding a few cards down here is 2 cards down. Not the usual line, but in these kind of matchups, when push comes to shove, you have to go for maybe these sort of lines where you don't normally play them.
And conceivably, so there's 1 alumni in hand, there's 1 more in deck. It is entirely conceivable, I think, that you could, like, you could get fairly far out here if you are, in terms of points, if you're Peefeach.
Yeah. And
then potentially get both your cards back, and then like an alumni, 1 casting contest, something like some combination of 3 cards could actually be more points than TGX has, especially if you can get out second in Nero, and TGX still has 12 cards in deck.
Yeah.
If you don't find the Sigvald Canute combination, for example, Like you said, there's also still Heat Wave available for P-Feach. It could be interesting.
And yeah, if depending on what is in hand here for TGX, it can take time to set up. Like the Sigvald, the Canute, it takes time.
That's a lot of points. Also, and we see the all-in here.
Yeah, I don't even know if it would do it.
44 points and 3 cards.
7 boost on the alumni, even with just 3 cards. Yeah, as you said, that's a lot. How do you do 44 points in 3 as TGX? There is the Sigvald. Would Sigvald Canute Martyrum be enough to do it? I think that would have to be like the most points.
Agreed, and I think that to your point, that is the most points, and I don't think that's enough.
Okay, there's Anira can get whatever you like. It finds the Draco Turtle. Okay, maybe you're gonna do
Draco Turtle
on the Sigvald, hit the Draco, but
and then
okay.
No, that's it. P-Feach, love to see it. Didn't give up. Was a bit unhappy with the draws, and yet was able to find the line, push through, down the bleed down 2 cards. Somewhere Shinmiri is smiling.
It'll depend on how many gains P-Feach can get on the board, and how TGX is going to respond. Location is probably going to be crucial in shutting down gains whilst allowing TGX to set up that combo.
Agreed. All right, Lyman, here we go. So now we again see, and again, if you're P-Feach, getting Ursine Ritual on blue coin is about as good as I think you could hope for. You have a pulling the strings in hand, which is great, because being able to potentially pulling the strings a res target from TGX is a really nice spicy meatball.
We see the Uncrate Raider again. I don't think it's as important in this matchup, but not going to be necessarily needed to be used to bust a shield. Defensive verification here.
Interesting. That's an interesting choice on turn 2 from blue coin. When you already have a deck that may struggle to not lose on even despite having played Care Trolled to lead out for TGX.
I think
looks like... Go ahead.
I think the good thing though for TGX here is that Pirates Cove isn't really a deck that can slam a lot of points immediately and unconditionally, at least in round 1 at the very start. It can later on if you're playing like you see Mastermind, but without those huge commitments, it's not going to be nearly as good. With the little bird coming down, I mean, it's solid. It plays for A, it gets the 3 boost. But it does get answered with the K Trolled here, and we do see the Dwim in hand. Reset that. And yeah, if you are going to use verification on the Nova Guard, you want to do it immediately to deny as much of that passive value as possible.
Yeah, and if you're P-Feach, you're probably not overjoyed to see the Dwim and the Care Trolled in hand, but or the availability of both of those, because that plus the Draco Turtle, that 3-card combination is kind of what helps you get out or be competitive anyway in round 1. But P-Feach, of course, being able to keep it close here. That second Care Trolled click though could help things get away from P-Feach fairly quickly, but still a good hand. Roost P-Feach still has a very good hand here, and at least access to 1 poison. Well, has access actually to at least 2 poisons. So we'll see if those are held in reserve or if those are used at some point here in round 1.
You see this 1 power, 1 point of bleed on the Raider? Setting it to 4 power means it's vulnerable to pulling the strings the next turn.
And then, like you said, playing the same game there to at least ensure that there's always a 4 on the board makes a ton of sense.
I mean, yeah, you could use, say, leader to get a 5 power Cs, but that's maybe a bit too much of a commitment early on.
Still potentially a third three poisons here, as we mentioned before. Yep. So we see the Furco into the poison here, and then also conceivably, then you could find another poison again with the Vivaldi Bank, but perhaps this is just more of a threat from P-Feach.
I think this does force TGX out of the round, though.
Right, because if there is a third poison from P-Feach, then TGX is losing on even. So maybe a leader. It could be a leader and a pulling the strings. It could be a leader and a sausage. I think also gets you out.
If you bank for the poison, you wouldn't need to leader here. So, as you say, it is the sausage.
I was assuming that the bank wouldn't get used, and it was a feint with the poison. So the Care-Trolled carryover, that click is still happy and active for TGX, and TGX also doesn't lose on even, while also, like you said, being able to get out of a round round one without losing on even by denying all of that carryover from Novigrad. Has to feel pretty good. That's P-Feach. You don't want to brick here, but I think you maybe want to take another mulligan. You've got bank, but you'd sure love to have maybe Siggy in hand. Okay.
Maybe not ideal. The Salamandra failed experiment can be nice here. Very well will force out the K-Troll to kill it.
Yep.
Bile float.
And then, yeah. Oh. So now what? That's 4 tags on board?
3 tags. There's overlap with the sausage maker and the BGF. But
that's right.
4 if you count the leader, at least.
And we do see Sigvald here.
Have to clash this failed experiment, which we can see. Now we're back down to 2 tags. Can't really do much to the 7 power Sigvald here. And even if you had Traffickers in hand, it's not the best poisoning Sigvald.
Oh no. You might have been looking for Jacques there.
Yeah, probably looking for Jacques, Siggy. Maybe... Okay, that was a failed.
Being able to threaten the poison again is nice, but the and I don't think you can kill it here, yeah. Oh, with the vial.
So this is a very nice play, saving this vial, enabling the bigger Knut the following turn. Now, the thing for TGX though is you don't have Totem on board. Can't get the Knut to 5 power unless you use your leader charges. If you do so, however, you're not planning to pulling the strings just yet, so it's fine. But a little bit of bleeding from the BGF would make it vulnerable the following turn. Although I wouldn't be surprised if you just play the horse in junior to get the kill and force out
the coins, which are good. And then I wonder if you click the sausage maker here as well. Looks like you want the coins.
don't think TGX is getting ahead here. Giving out a very solid pass in that case.
Yeah, it's. I was gonna say it's so much less scary to deal with a Fall Blood without having the totem spawns on board, but we do see a continued push. I guess you just take the damage here.
Yeah, I don't think you're even looking for pulling the strings because you only have 2 tags on the board.
Or you could eavesdrop, I guess, to. But you know what you're. I mean, you know what you're drawing into. You're drawing into a brick.
No, the bank shuffles, right? So.
Bank shuffles. That's right. It does take the damage. Do you click the sausage now?
I don't know what else you're spending on here, unless you want a leader. These coins aren't doing much.
So... Yeah, I just didn't know if you'd leave the coins as a threat or not, but that makes sense. The sausage gets heat waved, and like you said, TGX is still not ahead. You don't get ahead with a totem onto the cultist either.
No, you could totem Sigvald, click the bear,
Sigvald into the bear. Yeah.
But maybe that's using the Sigvald a bit too prematurely when you don't know what if each has. Although, since there's only 2 tags and 4... Oh, well, you could have leaded, just get enough discount for the Siggy Mastermind. And then, yeah, if you did take that early Sigvald click, that would have been a bit free. That line of play was...
So no heat wave for TGX, but you do have Svalblood and Sigdrifa's right still left. P-Feach would really like to find some gold cards. Would really like to find one of their 2 high provision gold cards.
That would be good, and the thing is, if you find the Siggy Mastermind, you find your other golds, but if you don't find the Siggy Mastermind, don't even find the Jacques. You're in a tough situation here.
Boy.
And
meanwhile, TG is able to play what is essentially a 1-point per turn engine.
Yeah.
Oh boy. It's got to be so disappointing if you're P-Feach here. If you find either one of the other 2 cards, either one of your other 2 golds, then there's at least the possibility of success.
This is what happens when you use the bank in round 2. You don't have that tutor for the round 3, which means you are down to the mercy of the card draws, and in this case, you can get a bit of value going with the little bird. Look, maybe there's no Svalblood. Sigdrifa's right was used, so Canute isn't coming back, so straight bird total, it's solid, but it's not that scary. But I think Svalblood would probably just clean the game up here due to the heavily armored and units for TGX's side of the board that gain extra value when they take damage as well.
Absolutely, because the leader at this point is worth 9. The Svalblood is in hand for TGX, while P-Feach misses both top-end golds. Yikes. You can't board wipe here, or you can't do anything else in terms of removal for TGX by using leader on this turn. But we'll see what happens here. Defensive poison gives you some coins to at least click the bird again for 4.
Why did P-Feach choose Blind Eye on the little bird when you were getting a Blind Eye anyways?
Was there anything left? The only things left to choose were...
Oh, no. Are there no BGFs left?
No.
Okay, right.
So I think because the only cards it showed was Blind Eye, was Jacques.
Okay, right.
Fistic Trafficker and Blind Eye. Yeah. Real shame here. If that Dead Trafficker were either one of the other 2 gold cards, I think it's significantly closer, but...
I don't know if Shock does it, Siggy probably does.
6 and 3 is 9. 24, I think PFH only has 26 here left, and we'll see either some clicks.
PFH just trying to see if there's something missing here. And the best line would just be to click Jackal twice, Little Bird and Jackal again.
Yep.
We're just ripping out. Right. Maybe hoping the opponent disconnected. But that is going to be it for the winners final. Congrats to TGX, able to deny the reverse sweep and secures the 3rd place in Open number 3. And we have a newcomer. I don't believe TGX has played in any of the